In this video, I'll be going through interpreting the slope and intercept when you have the least squares regression equation. So you should have done a few examples in your textbook creating the least squares regression equation. So if you're unsure how to get the equation, you'll need to go back and watch the videos going through those calculator steps because I won't be going through those in this video. Alright, so we all know that the equation of the least squares regression line is our RV equals A plus B times our EV, and we get our A and our B values by putting the data in the calculator, or it's given to us depending on the question. So remember, our A is our intercept and our B is our slope, or the gradient, so how steep the line is. Now, in this video, we're going to go through explaining the A and the B value, or the intercept and the slope, in context in the particular question. For example, if we have a look at this little guy here, so interpret the slope and the intercept of a regression line. The equation of a regression line that enables the price of a second-hand car to be predicted from its age is given by this little guy here. So price is equal to 35,100 minus 3940 times the age. Interpret the slope in terms of the variable price and age. What we're going to be doing for these ones is we're going to use a given script, which is this one for slope, and this one for intercept. And all we're going to do is we're going to change the coloured text, so the response variable in there, you would change it to the response variable in your question. A units, you would change it to whatever A value you've got in your equation, and when you're using B, you would use your B value. All right, so every time that you're interpreting the slope or the intercept, you grab your slab of text or your script, either this one or this one, depending if you're interpreting A or B, and you just rewrite it word for word and change the green parts to make it make sense. Now, the intercept is a little bit easier to put together than the slope, so let's actually start with part B. So interpret the intercept in terms of the variable price and age. So the intercept little script is as follows. The y-intercept of the regression line predicts that, on average, the response variable, so that is one of the words that you would change, is A units. So whatever the A value is in your equation, in units, so whatever the units is of that particular thing, when the explanatory variable is 0. So I'm going to just rewrite that. So the y-intercept of the regression line predicts that on average I've come up to a part where I've got a bit of coloured text, so I have to refer to, have a think about my equation. What's the response variable? What's the explanatory variable? So remember, our response variable is on the y-axis. So a response variable is our price. So predicts that on average, all you're doing here is you're just writing down what the response variable is for your particular question. So our response variable here is the price So price of a second-hand car, is, so all I've done there, just repeating that again, I've written out all this part here, I've come to here, and then for response variable, I've just written in the response variable, which is the price in dollars. So the price of a second-hand car is a unit. So once again, let's have a look at what A and what B is on our equation. So remember, the standalone number is A and the number attached to the variable is B. So we're looking at this guy here, so the 35,100 is, so 35,100 and the units of that. So we're talking about the price of a second-hand car. So 35,100 would be referring to money because it's the price. So that's what the that is what the units of that one is. So is $35,100, and I continue on when the explanatory variable. So the explanatory variable, I don't really have a purple, so I use pink, is our age of our car. So our age of our car. When the age of the second hand car is 0. Or you could say something to that effect. So when a second-hand car is, the age is 0, it's like when it's brand new, basically, or something to that effect. So like I said, you get out your script for your intercept. So this is the intercept one, and you just rewrite that word for word. My advice is rewrite it and then read it back and make sure it makes sense. So let's read it back. So the intercept of the regression line predicts that on average the price of a second-hand car is $35,100 when the age of the second-hand car is 0. So basically, when we're first buying the second-hand car, when we're driving it out of the lot, it's worth $35,100. Okay? Then the same thing for when we're looking at the slope. This one's a little bit trickier, but we'll see how we go. Same process, you're just going to rewrite this script. So the script is the slope of the regression line predicts that on average the response variable increases or decreases. Now that's going to depend on the sign in front of your equation. So if it's positive, it's going to be increase. If it's decrease, you're going to be looking for a negative by B units. So it's just the number there for a 1 unit increase in explanatory variable. So let's see how we go with this one. This one's just a bit tricky because of the making sure your units are correct. So let's see how we go. The slope of the regression line predicts that on average, we say on average just to, because, you know, we're saying that this is the general gist. It's just on average. We're not saying it's always going to happen, but generally speaking, it's going to follow this trend. So on average, now I need the response variable. So if I go back on here, my response variable is the price of a second-hand car So if I go back, I'm going to write it in green as well, so that on average the price of a second hand car. Now I'm up to this part here, so it's increasing or decreasing. Let's have a look. So if we're looking at B is the slope. There's a negative sign in front of that number, so it's going to decrease. So it's going to decrease. So decreases by B units. So B is, get the right colour, so 3940. Now the units of the variable you just wrote. So we just said that we were talking about the price of the second-hand car. So if we're talking about the price of the second-hand car, this 3940 would be in units of money. So it'd be dollars. So decreases by $3,940. And I keep going, so I've done that part for a 1 unit of explanatory variable. So this is kind of where you have to think about your explanatory variable before you write your 1 unit. So I've got one lot of however we measure this variable here. So we're looking at age in years. So this 1 unit here would be 1 year. So we write in there for a 1 year increase in, and instead of explanatory variable, we're going to write age, for a 1 year increase in age of the car, or second-hand car, or something like that. All right, again, read it back, make sure it makes sense, because sometimes when you're first starting to do this, it won't always make sense. So the slope of the regression line predicts that on average the price of a second-hand car decreases by $3,940 for a 1 year increase in age of the car, or age of the second-hand car. That sounds all right. So I can leave it at that. Hopefully, I was going to go through another example, but I'll leave that at that. So it's a nice short video and you can just get through it and have a crack. You need to have these 2 little slabs of text or scripts in your summary book, so you can refer back to them just with a really nice example. Hopefully that has helped. You'll be going through this in your tute this week to get a bit of practice. But yeah, it's not too bad. Follow the script and you'll be fine.